Good morning, and welcome back to Karma Control TV Radio and Radio for the Blind. Today's cards, we got the 577, and um, our beautiful guest here, uh, stepped in for coffee today, and w- um, brought in a message, and um, it's interesting because he he he's bringing in the message, but it's so funny because the message and his um, attitude and in most cases wouldn't match up, would seem conflicting, and and they want to talk about they want to talk. It's funny because they want to talk about something that um, mm, they want to talk about something that ordinarily would have a negative connotation in it, um, but then um, of course immediately uh, we had a little back and forth on it, and I was so surprised um, uh, at the uh, lesson in this and how quickly it was conveyed. And so we've got this Five of Hearts. Um, um, this is a in um, conflicts of love. Okay. Yes. So conflicts of love, um, and the conflict of love um, is the enemy of the self. It is the enemy of the self, and um, it is what spotlights the 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 enemy of life. What brings the enemy from inside of us and from outside of us, near to us, and uh, and it is not something that it's not something to get scared, remain scared about, or uh, feel surrounded by, or attacked by, or feel you need to destroy, or conjure violence towards the enemy. Is The enemy is the wrath of love, and it is your chance to it is your chance to love in love the ultimate love, which is being able to love something that you don't like, or love something that you don't agree with, or love something that does not know how to love you. I'm not even saying that they don't or it does not love you, because maybe it does. And maybe it's just so convoluted that it just doesn't know how to express itself. And it is, maybe it needs help. And, uh, and one way to assist that is recognizing this conflict and removing the identification, removing the classification, removing the demonizing of the ghoul, removing the removing your own block to perceive everything as love. And even your enemy, whatever it is, or even what oppresses you, and to meet meet what oppresses you more like a clown, and know that this is actually a wonderful opportunity for you to do something incredible, and to break your own chains, and to break your illusions, and come into a totally different perspective, which automatically brings you into a position where you don't feel like anything is against you, and there is nothing, there's nothing you need to conquer except for what you have not given yourself the opportunity to step into. It's about removing this, removing this opposing force from the throne of demise, and removing, convincing it to step down, or step out from its own confinement, its own prison, and meet you, and to meet you and have fun. And and this is so he's showing me the yin and the yang, of course, and meditation, of course, and uh, uh, um, uh, he's saying that um, somebody's loss is never your gain. And that's a good point, actually. And um, uh, I recently had to um, just talk about that with somebody, and who um, was acting as if the losses of the downfall, the law, the uh, uh, degradation of, they were speaking to me and degrading somebody which had been who had been publicly degraded, and they were very proud to tell me this, and they really felt they felt so empowered, and they were pretty young, and beautiful also, and I had spoke with them a couple times, and I don't know anything about them personally, but we had some conversations before, and they actually had a lot of interest in the path of the soul, and the path of freedom, and the light that these kind of things can bring to them, although they don't actually have much to educate them, and I recognize that, and I think that's why they seem so proud to confront me with their story, which was a story about how how somebody was thrown down, and how they were involved in it, and I immediately told them, I know about this, uh, and for one, the story is ridiculous, and but I think that it's funny, and it's funny because what effort was made to destroy somebody actually transcended them. So whatever energy that was done in vain, or done in bloodlust, which was done in a bad, it was like a bad idea, and automatically transformed into light. And I thought that obviously it was such a great example of really what they were looking for, and it was a demonstration, and and uh, and I told him, I said, uh, you know, sweetheart, uh, you know, the downfall of anybody is nobody's victory. And actually, it's the downfall of everybody. Um, and that's just the way it is. And 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 but this energy was automatically transformed, and the energy that was directed to create downfall was reversed. And what it did is whether it didn't even matter where anybody stood in this, it automatically brought and called in the power of love, which became a victory. And I saw a drastic change in the energy, and 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 so it's it's about it. That's it's about the enemy, and the 577, and there actually is no enemy ever. That in itself is an illusion, and depending on your life and yourself and the story that played out is going to tell you a lot about the enemy, and not necessarily the enemy outside of you, but the enemy inside of you, and just the word, the enemy. And they're saying try to throw that word out. Actually, try to throw the word out, the label of the enemy, because who is coming towards you, or who is opposing you, or trying to bring negativity in your life, in some cases, and in a lot of cases, is the guru, is the teacher, because that's what a teacher does. They challenge you. You are challenged, and what will be challenging for you independently is your own conflict and love. Nice. And balancing your shadows, and balancing your vulnerabilities, and changing your vision, and how you perceive these things. And all of a sudden, your enemy, the encroachment of an enemy, becomes a blessing. Actually, it's a blessing. And And it's for the power of love, actually. And the more you invest in this idea or play around with it and stop being victimized by these ideas, you are able to not destroy the enemy. Instead, you destroy the ability to you destroy whatever it is that's blocking you um, from your lesson and from your own gain, which cannot be taken away from you. And it's an obstacle breaker. And the enemy no longer exists when you remove the concept of the enemy. When you perceive the enemy as your teacher, as your mentor, as the divine, as the one that cheated you, or the lover that disappointed you, or the person being or thing the person being ostracized from God, being called names, being things like, when you know how people they say, oh, so and so's a narcissist, or they're this. They put a word on it, and what they don't realize is that word. The word is the enemy. The reason for needing a word, because if you're not going to engage in negative activities, or taking away your own ability to fight, you're disarming yourself by pointing the finger and calling someone something like that. And actually, you are entrapping them. And in that case, you are the enemy. And you see them, you say, oh, this is my enemy. Well, guess what? You're their enemy now, too. And you're like a double enemy. You're like stacking enemy energies, because you're imprisoning them with concepts that aren't your business to cast on them. You're the spellcaster, and you're the bastard, and it's like keeps bouncing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And our host here is really encouraging people to let go of this type of behavior. If you feel you are in if you feel like, oh, I'm fighting the enemy, well, guess what? Someone who has a lot more, you're creating it. That's what you're doing. You're not fighting shit, actually. And you're not over shit. And you're just actually creating more problems where more problems don't need to be had. And you're diminishing your own skills, and you're not loving what you have and what you can be given, and you're not respecting that you don't know anything about what someone else has or could be given or what they could bring to you. You're rejecting it. You're rejecting the gift. And you are rejecting their gifts. You become a thief. You become it is a conflict. It brings in negative energy, to not only to you, to your enemy, but to everything. And and it will work against you. And not only will it work against you, um, it will only make what you are confronting stronger and make you a jackass, actually, and bring you down. And then you will see how much you have actually lost by trying to create walls, from walls around somebody's a chance at happiness or soul fulfillment. And uh, and it's really bad luck to do that, and it's very negative, and it just empowers negativity, and it brings in towers and death, and it diminishes your soul, and it shows you more and more dark things because apparently you don't get it. And love is has to work so hard to demonstrate for you these things again and again. And it's like you can't you will see it. And the idea is not to show your enemy how ugly they are, actually, is to show their enemy how beautiful life can be. And maybe they just have some kind of vision impairment. Maybe they were taught how to do these things. Maybe they never had any chance to learn. Maybe it was in their culture, in their family, in their it was in it was no other way was available to them, and it is wrong to block them from the chance of changing. And uh, and instead of attacking them, uh, you should try to give them the vision of love by asking for it, and believing in it, and that's Two of Hearts, it's the Two of Cups, it's friendliness. That's friendliness, and that is loveliness, and it removes the word enemy, and it just removes the word enemy, and it turns opposition into opportunity, to come closer to your God, to come closer to happiness, to come closer to celebration and achievement, and it's the King of Diamonds. It's the Diamond Vision, and it is enlightenment, and King and Queen of Diamonds. It's a royal way, and it's so beautiful, and it rules the kingdom, you know, and it is the kingdom of God to do that, and it will bring you more quickly into your wish fulfillment, and it'll also bring them. It'll give them the wish. You are giving them the wish. I hope that they come close to their wish fulfillment, which is a beautiful prayer, and should be the prayer when you see someone in a realm of mistake, and it is the way. And it is the upside down Joker, realizing that this type of behavior puts the joke only on you, and it is your refusal to take a more rodeo clown perspective. Um, uh, the rodeo clown isn't in the rodeo because he's standing in the corner or sitting in the corner crying. He's there to demonstrate something that is actually a very old and ancient totem, and it's about the enemy, because in the rodeo the enemy would be like the bull, actually, or and that thing is really dangerous, and it I don't know, ever looked at been to a rodeo or seen what happens when you are hit by a bull. They really bust you up, and it's a spiritual demonstration, and it's traditional to demonstrate this, and because they call in so many different teachers, so that's it. Uh, that's all we got here. I'm gonna close the cards. That was a beautiful message from our special guest, Klaus Kinski, who came in for coffee this morning with an incredible message. And I just want to let y'all know uh, uh, it's a real pleasure to have him, and I think that this is a fantastic message, especially coming from him, and I think that someone like him could only bring a message like this because he was so experienced. He was made out to be the enemy in life quite a bit, and and he played around with that energy too, and ultimately, and I do know and especially from this message that uh, uh, to face the enemy to fight the enemy is actually the wrath of love. So, Klaus Kinski, always great to have you here for coffee or any time. And those are today's numbers and today's message. And all the best to you and your enemies. This is Karma Control TV, radio, and radio for the blind. Uh, it's May 19th, 2022, 1:01 p.m. Thanks for calling.